Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. And in the latest FFP EFL saga happenings, Sheffield Wednesday have appealed against the 12-point deduction made against them for their FFP infraction back in 2018. We're talking about something that was very, very controversial indeed, and it's going to run and run. That was my video. If I just shift a little bit over, you'll be able to see me. That was my video that I did back on July the 31st. You can see there 460 comments, lots and lots of debate on this. Just really, really quickly to go over the ins and the outs of it. Sheffield Wednesday sold their stadium to themselves, which is absolutely legal and fine. They didn't overvalue it. They sold it to themselves. However, in their accounts, they were deemed to have placed it in the wrong year of accounts, the wrong side of July the 31st, 2018, which then, if it was in the wrong year, put their losses over the limits, the £13 million a season rolling 3-year limits for that 3-year period. They were then charged in November of 2019, and then the sanction was handed down after they had played their last game of this championship season. Ergo, the points deduction was applied to the following season. So we had a lot of people unhappy about this for varying reasons. We had a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans unhappy about this, saying, well, look, this was all passed through the books. It's all years old. And now you're coming at us with the deduction. So we had that view, which I understand. We had the view from people, this is age old. It's taken them ages to do it. Why was this points deduction not applied this season, which then would have relegated Sheffield Wednesday? I understand that point of view as well. I understand both point of views. It's very complex and there is no black and white argument for this. The one thing we did try and debunk in a couple of the videos, there was a kind of emotional reaction to the fact that Wednesday were charged for the infraction for FFP next season, and Wigan were charged this current season for the administration. That I do take issue with in respects of that they're very, very different charges, and it's very, very clear on the administration side that the points deduction will be immediate and not clear on the FFP side. So whilst I have every sympathy for Wigan's fans and players, etc., I don't accept that the two things are the same. Anyway, we now have a lot more meat on the bone because we've got the findings all written out and we've got Sheffield Wednesday's appeal. What I would say, you can see there, 460 comments. And look, freedom of speech, you're perfectly willing to comment your opinion, but I would advise now, go to the EFL website and actually read the wording, yeah? Because I'm sure we'll get lots of comments that I don't really need to reply to, and people will debate that if we read the laws and read what's actually been said, maybe those comments will be answered already. So look, I know we're just football fans. We want to see some people we admire kick a spherical lump of pig leather into a net and cheer when they do it. But this is not opinion, most of it. This is all written down. You can now go ahead and read it. I'm not a legal mind. I'm a musician by trade. I've tried my best to read it and understand it, and I will try and take you through with it. But what I would say is, the evidence is there now, and maybe some of the decisions have been explained. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the decisions is a different matter, but the wording is there now. So go over to the EFL website. You can see Birmingham, Sheffield Wednesday and Wigan all up there now to look at. So the first thing to say is that there were two charges, and it's charge one that's the big issue. As indicated above, the arrangement made concerning the sale of Hillsborough was such that the club's auditors felt entitled to treat it as having occurred before the 31st of July. Our further investigation during 2019, the EFL formed the view this was an erroneous position. So this is the whole charge. And let's just say it again. There's nothing wrong with selling the stadium under the current rules. Whether you think that's morally wrong or not is irrelevant. Under the current rules, that's okay. I think Villa have done it, Reading have done it, Birmingham have done it, Wednesday have done it, Derby have done it. Let's not have comments saying, oh, selling the stadium's wrong. It's not. It's fine. It says in the rules. What the charge is, you can see in clear black and white there, is the EFL felt that this should not have been classed as before the 31st of July 2018. Excuse me. Sorry. The auditors, said it should have been before July the 31st, 2018. And the EFL felt that that was not the case. Have I got that the right way round? Clubs auditors felt entitled to treat it as having occurred before. So they're saying before, EFL are saying after. Whichever way round, they've got it. They disagree on which accounting year it should be in. So they've then got the findings on the decision of the sanction. This is 10 pages long. It's not too legalese, but again, if you want to be really clued up in the comments on this, go and read it. I'll try and take you through. I've read it. I've tried to understand it, and I've tried to bring out the key segments here. The EFL contended that the Commission should impose upon the club a points deduction of 12 league points effective immediately and thus within the extended 1920 season. So, first of all, I think we're all happy with the 12 points. It adds up to whatever amount of money you've infracted by. So that's okay. What we've found is that the EFL wanted this deduction to take place during the 1920 season, which would have relegated Sheffield Wednesday. Okay? So, the fact that that didn't happen is the Independent Disciplinary Commission overriding the EFL. So all the disagreement we've had in the comments, and it's fine, whichever way you want to fall, people saying it should have been this season and they should have been relegated, it should be next season. The EFL thought it should have been this season, this current season, and Wednesday would have been relegated. The Disciplinary Commission say otherwise. Okay? Moving on. The club's primary permission was that no sporting sanction in the form of a points deduction should be made, and all that was required was a modest financial penalty, of course. Alternatively, if a points deduction was to be made in the 2019 season, any immediate sanction should not exceed 7 points, because an immediate sanction involving a deduction of 8 points or more would result in the club's relegation, and the Commission should suspend all of or part of any sporting sanction to apply in the 2021 season upon the occurrence. So, Sheffield Wednesday didn't think they should have been deducted points. Look, any lawyer who's hired by someone to get them off a charge is going to come up with that conclusion, aren't they? They're going to want the least. It's a negotiation, isn't it? When you go and buy a car, you want to pay as low as possible. The person wants to pay as high as possible. Wants you to pay as high as possible. You meet somewhere, don't you? So I don't I don't have any issue with Sheffield Wednesday's lawyers coming up with that. And you can see very clearly they're talking about the points deduction and the fact that it would relegate them being a mitigating factor. Okay? Now, this is the Disciplinary Commission coming back. A great deal of the argument advanced on the club's behalf was addressed to matters that occurred after 31st of July 18. That's the cut-off point for the accounts and the stadium sale. However, we broadly accept Mr. Segan's contention, he'll be the counsel on the other side, that what happened after midnight on the 31st of July cannot logically mitigate the conduct compromising charge 1. The short point is that as of that date, the club had failed to meet the requirements of the P&S rules is the essence of the charge. We are not, of course, blind to what occurred subsequently, but it seems to us that we ought to focus principally on the essential thrust of the charge rather than re-examining for sanction purposes all of the suggested nuances of what occurred subsequently. What a mess, basically. So some kind of admission that, yes, the dates are all in a muddle, that if the EFL were going to say at this point, look, you're guilty, it should have been done ages ago. And there's some kind of sense in legalese speak that they're saying, look, it's a mess, we'll just deal with it now, and we accept that. Okay? If that is so, and a 12-point deduction had been imposed during the 1920 season at a very much earlier stage, the club would have had the opportunity to improve its league position by performance on the field of play. This was an argument that came up a lot, and it looks like, and it was made by Sheffield Wednesday fans, and it looks like the disciplinary commission agree. Because of the delayed hearing, it will have been deprived of that opportunity. So the argument here is that if Sheffield Wednesday were going to be deducted a number of points that would essentially relegate them, that wouldn't have been fair, because Birmingham were given a deduction during the season and then were allowed to play. I think it was in the last international break. Then were allowed to play knowing what the deduction was. And the commission has ruled, like a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans said at the time, that it would not be fair that Birmingham knew the deduction prior to the end of the season. Sheffield Wednesday didn't, and were then essentially retrospectively relegated. As stated in the Birmingham decision, it is far from ideal that relegation or promotion outcomes that are potentially to be affected by a points deduction that are announced in the last few weeks of the season. It is indeed far from ideal in all of the circumstances of this case that the club will have been denied the opportunity we have referred if the points deduction is imposed now, namely within the last few days of the extended season. Sorry, the sun has just come out and my brightness has gone absolutely mental in this video. Sorry, just give me 1 second and I will try and fix that. Oh no, and then the sun goes behind a cloud. Look, let's just carry on. I think you can all see me okay. But the key point is here, and a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans argued this, and the disciplinary commission agrees that if you're going to give a points deduction, it's not fair to give it after a season has finished, thus relegating a team, when the previous season you've done it during the season. I think we can all conclude with these first FFP cases that there needs to be hard cut-off dates and hard numbers that say something to the effect of, if there's a charge, it's applied next season, period. That, you know, something to the effect of that. And then everyone knows where they stand, and it is what it is. Or it needs to be applied immediately. One or the other. You can't have, for example, Birmingham charged in one manner and Sheffield Wednesday charged in the other. I'm very, very sorry. I am just going to click and try and very quickly drop my exposure there, and we will work like that. Wonderful. Right, let's move on. Hopefully everybody is sticking with me here. To the next slide. These are very unusual times, and what may seem appropriate at this precise moment may not necessarily be so in similar circumstances at other times. That's taking COVID into account as well. But our conclusion that the combination of the fact that the 12-point deduction had been imposed when, according to the general approach, it should have been during the 18-19 season. Obviously, that's the EFL's fault, isn't it? Because the initial charge is so old, and they've kind of gone back in time and, you know, done it again. The club would have never faced relegation. Yes, so if they'd been charged in 18-19, they wouldn't have been relegated. The actual or perceived inconsistency of the approach in the Derby County case and the potential effect of the delays caused by the bringing of the approach makes it inappropriate to impose the deduction on the current season. These are the reasons that led us to the decision announced on 31st of July. So that has cleared it up. All the 460 comments on my previous video, all debating this. This is what the commission have concluded. They've concluded that what a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans actually said, that you can't put the deduction on us. So I'm saying us as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, because the season has finished. We had no chance to react, and Birmingham did. And if we're going to really add up dates, then put it in the 18-19 season. That would have been immediate. This is picking the worst case scenario for us, and with COVID as well. I hope that all makes some sense. So that's That's the reasoning that they've given. Now, you can agree or disagree with that, but that's what the reasoning is. Here's the club's statement. The club was disappointed with some of the decision of the disciplinary commission and respectfully disagrees with both the finding it was in breach of the P&S rules for the 17-18 season and the sanction of a 12-point deduction. So some people will say Sheffield Wednesday are being a bit bolshy here. Some people think that Sheffield Wednesday have got away with one in respect of not being relegated. The Independent Disciplinary Commission disagrees with that standing. I suppose what Sheffield Wednesday would be saying is, look, with these dates and this timeline, why not retrospectively stick the 12-point deduction on the 18-19 season? And then everybody can move on. I suppose they've got some argument. In terms of your 3 points, there's it going on for next season. Well, that's bad, but at least you know. There's it going on the 19-20 season. Well, that's terrible. That's cataclysmic because it's relegation. And then there's also this thing now of it. Can they stick it on the 18-19 season on appeal, which is by far the best scenario for Sheffield Wednesday, and actually in terms of the timeline is appropriate to when the infraction took place. Give me your thoughts on that in the comments. Could they retrospectively stick the 12 points on 18-19? Sheffield Wednesday says it's important to highlight that the Commission did not find the sale of the stadium was itself prohibited by the P&S rules. That's important. I've said this in this video a few times. Selling the stadium is not illegal. You might find it immoral, but that doesn't matter. You know, that's like me saying a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit is immoral. It should be 35, and then that's moral all of a sudden. That's me essentially disagreeing with the rules and what the rules are. They've worked within the rules. So we need to be very, very clear on that. It's whether it was in the right year or the wrong year. And now also, massively, whether the EFL have essentially messed up their chance to bring charges because they should have found this years ago, really, shouldn't they? There we go. Nor that the club transacted anything other than in the utmost good faith with respect to that transition. So we said as well, they haven't acted in, quote, bad faith, or they haven't been found to have acted an honest mistake, allegedly. The club has been assured by the EFL that stadium sale could be included in its 2017-18 P&S returns and relied on those assurances. Having discussed the transaction with the EFL, having approved it, and the club's auditors having signed it off, the club believed and continues to believe it was acting properly and in accordance with the rules. It is disappointing in those circumstances that the Commission went on to find the club was nevertheless in breach of charge 1. In short, I kind of understand that argument, don't you? Okay, we put our books in, EFL said this is okay, now 2 years later they're saying it's not okay. That sounds like a reasonable argument, doesn't it? And I don't know whether they're going to go on to say it, but well, okay then, if you're going to charge us, backdate it to the 18-19 season where we wouldn't have been relegated. Or have to play now with a minus 12-point start to the season. The club is pleased that in charge 2, which alleged the club had deliberately concealed certain matters, that was dismissed and accepted the club as open and honest. So they have acted in good faith according to the Commission here. The club further notes that the Disciplinary Commission's findings that this was a serious allegation, not made lightly. An opportunity should be made and afforded to the individuals involved to explain their position before the charge. Oh, God. That's some mud dragging, I think, isn't it? The club welcomes the Disciplinary Commission's suggestion that the EFL should have exercised its power to investigate it under regulations. I don't know what that means, I'm afraid, as being a fairer approach rather than bringing the allegations without further investigation. It goes on, despite the sanctioning guidelines, which it is not accepted apply in this case, providing any points deduction sanction to take effect in the year following the breach, which in the club's case would have been 2018-19 season when it finished 24 points clear. Thank you, Ipswich, Rotherham and Bolton, say Sheffield Wednesday fans. And the other mitigating factor is the Commission imposed a maximum 12-point deduction for next season. The EFL sought to have the sanction imposed in the 1920s, and I think we've all already explained this, that just concluded, which would have seen the club relegated, in stark contrast to the position it adopted in the Derby disciplinary proceedings, where it was content for any sanction to be imposed next season because Derby would not be relegated. They're saying that contradicts. Again, Sheffield Wednesday's lawyers are good, aren't they? That makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? The club is pleased the Commission rejected such an inconsistent approach. That's a fair argument, isn't it? That it's got to be consistent between Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, and also Birmingham that were charged as well. By the way, we're still waiting on Derby, aren't we? Given the findings in respect of Charge 1 and the sanction imposed, the club shall be appealing the decision to an EFL arbitration panel, both against the finding with respect to Charge 1 and the sanction. The club believes its grounds of appeals will be strong. The club will continue to take all appropriate steps to protect its interest for the benefits of the club and its supporters, and looks forward to the appeal being heard by the league arbitration panel. While the club does not set the timetable for the hearing of the appeal, it considers it's likely that it will take place in autumn 2020. Wow. This just rumbles and rumbles and rumbles, doesn't it? And I have to say, my view on this, not being any kind of expert, is that the Sheffield Wednesday lawyers have done rather well in their arguments, very compelling, and they've done a rather good job of making the EFL look very silly here, haven't they? The disciplinary commission have agreed with a lot of what they've said. So, as I understand it, the position we're in now is that Wednesday could actually get out of the 12 points being deducted next season. Not get out of the 12 points deducted period, but on the basis that, well, if the delay in this case all happening is down to the EFL, then surely if I'm Sheffield Wednesday's lawyer, I can turn around and say, well, it's your fault it was delayed, therefore we shouldn't, as a club, Sheffield Wednesday, have to pay the penalty in the future because of your delay. So could you kindly please take the 12 points off the 2018-19 season, where Sheffield Wednesday finished 24 points clear? That would be their argument. Whether you agree, disagree with that or not, I think the goalposts seem to have moved in this debate, in that we thought initially, oh, Sheffield Wednesday have got away with one, but the disciplinary commission just don't seem to agree with that at all, and there seem to be quite compelling arguments to that end as well. So it now seems to be the EFL, and it has to be said, not under Rick Parry, under Sean Harvey at the time, the EFL seem to look rather silly, don't they? And that if the arbitration and this latest appeal is found in Sheffield Wednesday's favour, you could now see a situation where that minus 12 gets chalked off and put on the 2018-19 season. And we all move on, and they say, look, if this is the infraction where it took place, then deal with it that season. What seems to be very clear is the EFL needs to put in a very clear timeline. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but something to the effect of, right, you put in your accounts. If you're then charged, so say you put in your accounts at July of whatever. The next season then starts. If you're charged during the period of that season, we will investigate, and the points deduction or whatever will happen in the next season. They just need to be clear about it now, don't they? Whether that's right or wrong for Birmingham, Derby or Sheffield Wednesday, in the future, what seems very clear, we just can't have this crazy, okay, you get charged, we're going to investigate, and then whatever happens, happens. And also, maybe investigation should take place in the post-season, or arbitration should be revealed in the post-season, when no football is being played, and we can't have this ridiculous, are we up? Are we down? Are Charlton going to be saved by a Sheffield Wednesday deduction? That all seems very, very silly to me. So, look, get your comments in. As I say, please read go to the EFL website and read the ruling, because I don't want to get comments saying, oh, Sheffield Wednesday are crooks because they sold their stadium. No, that's wrong, and it's been written in about 5 different cases and confirmed now. I don't want to get comments saying that, oh, Sheffield Wednesday should have been deducted because Wigan got deducted. No, apples and oranges, completely wrong. 2 different infractions, and very clearly outlined in 10 pages why that's not the case. The only thing we should now be debating is when the 12-point deduction should take place. They've deemed that it is unfair that it would have been in the 1920 season, resulting in a relegation and no chance to play against it that Birmingham had. So that's kind of off the table. So I think now also the argument that Wednesday should have been relegated is kind of off the table, isn't it? All we're really debating now is, should they be deducted next season? should it be backdated to 1819? Or should they be deducted at all? Because this is actually the EFL's fault, and maybe the statute of limitations has run out, and if they were going to charge them, it should have been ages ago. Those seem to be the three things that we're actually debating now. Should it be next season? Should it be backdated to the 18-19 season and put in the past, and the EFL holds their hand up and say we should sort it out? Or should they get off with it on the basis the EFL was so slow to charge? Look, maybe they shouldn't get off with it, because look, an infraction is an infraction. And again, I'll go back to speeding. Just because the speed camera doesn't pick me up doesn't mean I didn't do anything wrong. So really, I think, and I'm thinking about this as we go, we're really between, should it be next season or should it be backdated to the 18-19 season? Look, as usual, this gets very emotional in the comments. I have no dog in the fight. I support Ipswich Town. All I would ask people to do is read the damn article, read the findings on Sheffield Wednesday, because you're, as Ricky Gervais says, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And the facts are all there laid out, and it does seem a bit of a pointless exercise making your comments based on emotion and not the facts that are clearly stated over on the EFL website. That doesn't seem there doesn't seem much point in that, does it? It's kind of like me saying, I don't know. Again, I'll use speeding as an analogy. Officer, you've pulled me over. Why have you pulled me over? Because you're 15 miles over the speed limit. And me arguing back, oh, but so and so had a pop that my hair was not looking good and I don't feel great. And it's like, well, no, that's not the facts of why I've pulled you over. That's a different thing that you feel emotional about. So, look, try and get your comments in and let me know what you think in terms of the way I've tried to frame it, really. Next season -12, or do you backdate them to 18-19? Woof. I think we've managed to get through that. You can support me. Let me move over this way again. You can support me on Patreon if you enjoy my content and my efforts to wade through pages and pages of legal jargon. You can support me for $3 a month. I don't get that VAT. Or $5 a month there. If you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, you'll see your manager, Gary Monk, in there in solid mid-table there. So for $3 a month, that's just basically a donation. And for $5 a month, you get my Patreon-only Q&As and vlogs over there. You can support the channel by hitting the subscribe button. Current subscribers 11,335. That is absolutely wonderful. You can support by hitting the thumbs up button and by getting in the comments. But what I would say, particularly on this video, having to wade through over 400 comments on the last video, one, be nice to each other. Two, if your position is that you think that Sheffield Wednesday should be relegated just because you don't like them, or you want to look at a car crash from the other side of the carriageway and it's Schadenfreude and you like a bit of drama as long as it doesn't involve your club, well, that's not really going to work, is it? That's silly football banter, and we're trying to actually debate the case here. Three, please, why not try and, like I've done, give me the respect, especially if you're going to disagree with me, give me the respect of quoting what I've said that you think is wrong based on the findings that the legal bods have put on the EFL website. Yeah? I think that would be the respectful way of using the facts and debating them. Right. Over to you guys in the comments. I'm sure it'll be an absolute bloodbath, but it is what it is. And that is my view on Sheffield Wednesday's appeal on the 12-point deduction made, and really the EFL looking a little bit silly. Thank you for watching. Go find it out in the comments. Over and out.